So this is where we're at, huh? This is where we're at when we look at the Atlanta Hawks in the deal that they made over the weekend. The Rockets get the rights to Alpha Kaba, and the Hawks in return get Usman Garuba, Ty Washington, 2 second-round picks in 25 and 28, and cash considerations, which I think ended up being about $1.1 million when all was said and done. This is where we're at coming off the John Collins move, huh? Now, look, again, I can be patient. I understand, okay? And we freed up money, and we did all these things. We talked about this last week, right? We freed up money. We got ourselves under the luxury tax. I think we're $8.8 million under the luxury tax and all this good kind of stuff, okay? We've got the $25 million exemption, but again, you can do that in a trade, but that still counts towards your payroll whenever your payroll ends up getting figured out. Okay, but again, we're not a better roster. See, this has been my problem. We're not better. I don't have a problem with the Collins move and what we did and freeing up money, and we took a step back as far as the quality of our roster. I got all that. But when our next move is Ty Washington and Usman Garuba, okay, when we're taking on Houston Rockets castoffs, when that's where we're at with this, come on, guys. I mean, let's do something that improves the roster. Like we talked about the fact that, okay, I'll live with Collins, but the next move has got to be something that improves our roster. This doesn't improve our roster. Miss me with your whole narrative about whatever these guys are, Ty Washington and Usman Garuba. Miss me with whatever name. They are cast-offs from the Houston Rockets, who are the least talented roster in the entirety of the NBA. They are the absolute dreadful mess of a franchise in the NBA. You can't be a worse franchise in the NBA than the Houston Rockets and be a less talented roster. Sorry, you can miss me with that whole narrative. We need to start getting better. Again, we keep finding out about how the luxury tax. And what have I warned you about? I've been warning you about this for over a year now, that this is where they're looking at. We can talk about trying to be a championship caliber roster and this, that, and the other. And again, it's not an easy thing to build a quality roster when you have a super max player. The Miami Heat, they're under the luxury tax. Yeah, because they don't have a super max guy and they don't have some of the contracts that we do. Jimmy Butler's not a super max guy. He can be a super max guy, when he qualifies. Again, second team All NBA now. But again, we have our super max guy who's going to cost us $44, $45, $46 million a year. When you have guys that take up, when you have a guy that is almost a third of what the luxury tax penalty is in salary, it's hard to build a roster that doesn't go in the luxury tax. And you end up with Garuba and Ty Washington and cash considerations and all the and second round picks that we're going to sell off. Those will be part of a trade. I mean, who cares about second round picks? What's the likelihood that you can find somebody in the second round that's of quality? Miss me with Joker and Draymond Green. Okay, those are one-time exceptions to the entire rule. How many Jokers do you find in the second round? How many of those guys? It's usually it's usually who was the big guy that we had from Brazil a few years ago or whatever like that. Again, it's usually the stiffs. It's usually stiffs is what you find in the second round. Stash and dash players, foreign guys that go play overseas, guys that will never make the NBA. That's the vast majority of guys. So miss me with all the second round picks. But when do we start getting better? When do we start improving our roster? When do we start making, again, Kyle Kuzma's off the board. This guy's off the board. Teams are making deals left and right. Teams are making moves and all this good kind of stuff. Lakers are moving, they're doing all this. Everybody's doing moves. We made our big move to start with. Okay, good. Now what are we doing to get better? Well, we're going to sit back and read the tea leaves and figure out what happens. No, let's get better. Let's get better as a franchise. Like, where are we going? Like, is this where we're really at? Where we're making trades with the Houston Rockets for, a bunch of stiffs and second round picks and cash considerations and the Rockets get the rights to a guy that nobody knows about. Nobody's heard of this guy. Even his family doesn't know that he was in the NBA draft process. His family didn't even know. Alpha Kaba, they're like, wait, who? What? He's with the Rockets now. He's in the NBA. We didn't even know. That's where we're at with this. Again, I'm not saying go out and sign, the top player in free agency or make the biggest trade. I'm not saying that, but let's do something that's improving our roster. Again, if we're going to trade a Collins, and we didn't replace him with a Kyle Kuzma, let's do something. I can have some patience, but these moves that we're making right now, they're just uninspiring. And I'm telling you, like I said, I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. Until you tell me otherwise, they are by and large going to run this thing back. And this is sort of where our roster is going to be. And they're going to make some end of the bench kind of moves and stuff like that. But there isn't going to be this big turnover. Again, I'm fine with moving on from Collins. But if the point of moving on from Collins was to simply get us below the luxury tax so we didn't get into all of that, then I'm not fine with that. Because right now, as I look at it, our roster is not better. Say what you want about John Collins. Whatever you want, whatever narratives, whatever you want to think about him, okay, him being off this team has not improved our roster. And if we're not going to sign somebody that's going to help us out and figure out who that next piece is going to be, and again, it doesn't even have to be a starter. Give me an elite type of bench player. Give me a really good sixth man to go with Bogey or whoever, Sadiq Bey or, AJ Grant, whatever. Give me somebody, not Ty Washington, not all the Houston Rockets cast-offs. And when I'm looking at this deal, it's like alphabet soup to look at all of it. We're getting cash. We're getting second-round picks. We're getting this cast-off. We're getting that cast-off. Again, the Rockets are the least talented team in the NBA. What does it say when we're making deals with them? Right now, I'm uninspired. Right now, I'm hoping, again, as we get through this big waves of free agency, right? And we're seeing the big tidal wave coming through. The big moves that keep coming through here, right? And by the way, it ain't going to be long before free agency is going to kind of dwindle and we're going to be in summer league. Well, we're in summer league in a few weeks, right? We're going to be in summer league, then it's going to be camp, and we're going to be looking up and we're going to say, gee, are we better that we have Ty Washington and Usman Garuba? Oh, but hey, listen, we got some second-round picks out of all of it. No. Give me somebody that's going to improve our roster. Give me somebody that excites me about the idea of we're going to be a top 3-4 seed next year in the NBA. I can't wait. Again, the Miami Heat are looking at getting Damian Lillard. We're grabbing Usman Garuba. Like, where are we at with all of this? Like, where are we at? Damian Lillard may be going to Miami. That's the place he wants to be, right? He's going to the Miami Heat, right? Where are we doing? We got cash considerations and Usman Garuba. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here in Atlanta? When do we start to get better with all of this kind of mess? It is frustrating. And again, I'm trying to have some patience with this. I understand that they told us that it was going to be a slow process, but give me something, man. I mean, I'm not telling you to trade for Giannis or Embiid or somebody, but just give me something that feels like we're getting better. Because right now, we have not gotten better. This roster is not better. Miss me with Ty Washington and Usman Garuba and their additions that make us better than when we had John Collins. That's not the case. Hopefully this thing works itself out, but I have this real fear that at the end of the day, we're basically going to run this thing back. That's what really scares me, is that this needs some changes to the roster. This needs some infusion of more talent to it. All right, well, thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen. Be sure to go in and leave us a comment on whatever podcast platform that you listen on. Let us know that you're an everyday listener to the program, right? We call them our everydayers. We thank you so much for being a part of our growing community. We thank you so much for being on this journey, but let us know that you're an everydayer to the program, listening in 5 days a week. You can subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast and get the latest episodes of Hittin' Hard as soon as they become available. Also, check us out on the Sirius XM app and give me a follow on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Back with you on Wednesday. Have a happy 4th of July, Independence Day to everybody out there. We'll catch you on Wednesday. This has been Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked on Sports Atlanta.